5 essential steps to enhance core strength and stability. Number 1 is all muscles are important. So that's the muscles on the front, on the side, on the back, in some respects higher up and also lower down. So higher up we'll be talking about lats, lower down we'll be talking about glutes as well. So what these muscles need to do is they also need to co-contract. So we're not only talking about all the muscles, I should also mention we've also got the 3 layers of muscles as well, TVA in the middle, internal obliques, external obliques as examples. You could do the same at the back, and then you've got the rectus abdominis on the front. So we've got all muscles, front, back, sides, below and above, but also you've got the 3 layers going out as well. And as I mentioned, these muscles need to co-contract together because what they're doing is creating a whole that is greater than the sum of its parts. So if we look at the organisation of the muscles, all the fibres are sort of mishmash across each other, and I always liken this to carbon fibre. So carbon fibre is a very light structure, but it's a very strong structure, and it's very strong, and it comes with a degree of flexibility as well. And that's exactly what our torso and core is there to do, and it's also what our spine allows us to do as well. So number 1 is all muscles are important. Number 2 is symmetry is critical. Now what does that mean? It's trying to get a balance of strength around the whole of the torso. So as I will always talk about, I'll talk about the beginners exercises first. There are more advanced exercises that can be talked about and we could go on to, but if we just take the most simple exercises, we go plank, side plank, bridge. So we come down into the plank, we've got the abdominals, you will get aspects of the obliques, but we're mostly looking at the anterior fibres. What we could then do is we could then roll up into a side plank, like so. Now we're getting the external obliques, internal obliques, you'll get aspects of the QL as well, and some of the spinal erectors, obviously on one side of the spine. So we've moved the tension from the front around the back, and then if we want to, what we can then do is come around the back, and we can go into bridge, and basically come up, squeeze of hips. If we want to as well, and engage the lats a little bit, we can just push the elbows into the floor and just gain a little bit of tension through the lats as well. So with all of that, what we've done is we've taken the tension all the way around the torso. What we can then do is start putting them together. So if I go from a plank up into a side plank, what you'll notice when you do the exercise is the tension starts here. As you go up into the side plank, it will move around here. So we come into this position, we lift an arm, we roll round, now it's here. As I come back down, it's here. As I'm halfway up, it's sort of on the front side of my torso. So again, we're building that symmetry around, rather than going, this exercise does the front, this exercise does the side, this exercise does the back. We're trying to build all the way around. So number 2 is symmetry is critical. Number 3 is longer muscles, and muscles further from the spine create the greatest stability. So a couple of muscles that would include in that would be latissimus dorsi and QL. So when we're talking about latissimus dorsi, obviously that's the muscle that comes down the back, but it goes into the lower back here and then goes out and around the torso, and it joins into the back of the arms. So what we can do is we can fix the shoulders down, and then what we've created is a nice long moment arm to fix the whole torso in place. So it's very easy for the latissimus dorsi to create that stability because it's a very long muscle. If we just had little muscles all the way up, they won't create huge amounts of global stability. They might just stabilize a couple of vertebrae together, but they won't create stability throughout the whole spine. And it's a similar scenario with the QL. If we look at the rector spinae group, they stay relatively close to the spine, or the multifidus muscles that come all the way down the spine. They're right next to the spine. But with the QL, it joins onto the spine and comes out to sort of this sort of position on the pelvis. So again, it's using that same sort of moment arm, if you will, that comes down onto the pelvis and holds everything in place. So again, if we were going into a side plank or a plank, it's just a case of fix those shoulders down. We're creating extra stability through the torso. Number 4, it all starts with your ability to brace. You've probably heard me say this before, but it is one of the core skills. Now, the core skills, again, as I've probably mentioned and you've probably heard before, are the fundamentals of the fundamentals. So when you go into my How to Build Core Strength and Stability workouts, that's where you can start. So if you are a beginner to that How to Build Core Strength and Stability program, that's where you start. You start with the core skills. Learn how to brace. That fixes the spine in place. That fixes the spine to the pelvis. What that gives you is a stable foundation to work from. What you can then start doing is then start adding exercises in, which brings us on to sort of the second part of it. When we're selecting exercises, we start simple because we want to focus and get these core skills nailed. We want to get them mastered. We want to become competent at them, because what we can then do is start adding exercises on top, which starts to take our focus onto holding positions. Then we start adding movement on top of that. Once we know the core skills, we've started using movement, and what we're basically doing is just building our brain to be able to cope with all these more complex exercises. So what we've got to be able to do is take it from that simplistic beginning rather than just throw someone in at the deep end and let them sink or swim. So there's a little bit more of a logic to it when you come onto my programs, in so much as you start simple and you build all the way through. So there is more than a greater chance that you're going to go from beginner through intermediate and all the way into advanced without seeing any great problems with injuries, aches, pains, and fitness progressions as well. And number 5 is we then start adding movement on top. So I've already described it in part number 4, but we'll just focus on this a little bit more and talk about some exercises. So we've talked about just learning to brace. So we said sort of the brace is the fundamental, it's the essential. So that's plank, that's side plank, that's bridge. That's those static isometric exercises. So once we've got that down, we can start then adding extra load and extra movement to it. What we would then start with, if we went with a plank, we would go lift an arm. We could even come up into a side plank. Once we're in that side plank, we could move the legs. So all the way through, we're starting to add movement on top of that. If I was asking you to brace, hold your pelvis in place, and then do those movements the first time you walked into a gym with me or the first workout that you did, there's a good chance you're not going to get it right. But if I was able to say, right, learn how to brace, get competent at that, okay, you've got that, right, let's add some extra load in. Let's move an arm. Let's start rotating the body. Can you keep the pelvis still? If we layer it up in that way and we just give it to you one piece at a time, then you're going to be in a much better place. What we can then do is take it from there and move it into some chopping exercises, and we could start adding some speed of movement. So if we wanted to go with a chop, I'm just going to use this. So if I do a reverse chop, as it were, I would come down here, adding a bit more movement, I would throw up, but I would rotate my body with it. So again, it's not full speed, but I'm starting to layer up. I'm pivoting on this hip. So I'm rotating here, that's staying still, and I'm pivoting on that back toe as well. But I'm staying in a solid position. What we can then do is start making that faster. And then instead of having all of that movement, we might just move the arms fast. So we're just moving fast, quick, like so. So we've got that progression to it. So we're not, again, as I've mentioned, not just throwing you in at the deep end. It's very much a logical process where you're learning how to use your body much more effectively, which is going to build core strength and stability. Core strength and stability isn't about doing certain exercises, it's about learning how to use your body to be strong. So that is what all of those workouts and tutorials are. If you want to get involved in them, if you're a beginner, go click the link below. work through the 12-week program, get yourself up to intermediate level, move on to advanced. If you're intermediate and advanced, go straight into the intermediate and advanced workouts, whatever you feel is good for you. All the workshops are in there, the core skills workshops are in there, the movement workshops are in there, the exercise workshops are all in there, so there's lots to learn and there's lots to work through with regards to the workouts. So many thanks for watching. My name is Chris. I look forward to working with you in the workouts.